You are using microservices, but your system still feels slow, fragile, and impossible to debug. You are probably using the wrong architecture pattern. Here is the truth: microservice alone cannot fix all of your problems. The pattern you choose is what exactly makes or breaks your system. Pick the wrong one, and you get slow APIs, cascading failure, and the nightmare to maintain those services. Pick the right one, and you get a scalability, resilience, and a system that handles millions of users smoothly. So there are multiple microservice architecture pattern like API gateway, event-driven, service mesh, SAGA pattern. These are not just buzzwords; they are critical decisions when you adopt them. And most of the developers either overcomplicate things or choose blindly. In this video, I will break down most important microservice architecture patterns that are very easy to understand, but when we choose them, we need to think through all the aspects and then adopt those architecture pattern in your system. So let's go through all these different microservice architecture pattern and which one you should adopt. I really love API gateway architecture pattern because what it provides. So let's say you have a multiple interfaces, you have a mobile app, web app, IoT devices, or maybe other partners. And how they are communicating to your applications is you have multiple microservices and you have exposed their API gateways. Every service has their own different API URL. So obviously they cannot keep changing their API URL to talk to user service, order service, product service, payment service. Instead of that, we can just provide them a centralized API gateway interface. So all the customers of your APIs will come to the API gateway. API gateway also has out of the box rate limiting, response cache, request transformation, routing, load balancing, circuit breaker, logging, and metrics. All these kind of aspects, like let's say AWS API gateway, Kong, all these API gateway provide all those aspects. So adopting API gateway pattern, that means you are getting a lot of things out of it. And then with the help of routing, you can route the request to a particular service and that service will respond and the response will be sent back to the customer. So all the other things, this is the centralized API gateway pattern. And I think most of the backend services where you have a lot of microservices, either they expose a load balancer, then CDN, or you have a central API gateway that is behind the CDN, and then you access the CDN API gateway and the target Lambda or a services. This is what the API gateway, and I really love it. On the AWS serverless architecture, we can have AWS API gateway, write Lambdas, and have your microservice architecture there. Now SAGAs. SAGA is actually a very popular name. SAGA is like an orchestrator. What it does is, let's say you are building a microservice. And it's not like microservices are not going to fail, right? You have actually created an order, reserve the stock, process the payment, shipping the order. But in some case, you need to cancel the shipment. Maybe the check, that the payment is stuck somewhere. Then you need to compensate the whole actions, because what you did is you created the order, reversed the stock, you have deducted the inventory, you are right now actually shipping the order, but at the last moment customer want to cancel it. So you need to compensate that the state and you need to come to the original state. There comes the SAGA orchestrator, right? So you need to cancel the payment, refund the payment, release the stock, and cancel the order. So this is the whole SAGA block that needs to execute whenever you need to roll back and in any case of the failure. So this is in this particular pattern where you are doing a multi-step processing, and to retain the original state, you need to create the compensation. So you need to create a compensation. Okay, I'm canceling the order. So these are the steps which you need to process properly in the clean way to retain the original state in which we are. Event-driven architecture, I use it a lot on the cloud environment. You can see here, these are my services: order service, user service, payment service. Now these services can send a lot of events: order created, user registered, payment processed, delivery partner assigned, and all. Event driven means you will be using asynchronous mode of communication, and you will be sending these events and the commands like order created, payment processed, user created. And you can use any kind of asynchronous platform, SQS, SNS, Event Bridge on the AWS environment, Kafka, RabbitMQ, or any broker platform, right? So user event. There will be a search service will be interested in a user created event, notification service, audit service, analytics service, payment service, delivery partner service, and the event log, event store, right? So all these things are happening through the event driven. So in the event driven, you can follow the industry standard event schema for all the events that are flowing in the whole system, and based on the events you can actually take the action. So these are actually events are something which happened in the past. User has been created, so user created event, order has been processed, payment executed, means payment has been done, payment successful status is true. Now you need to take the next action item. So all these asynchronous communication, here services are totally decoupled. Service audit service doesn't know notification doesn't know search service. They are just receiving the events, and based on that they are changing the overall state of the platform. This is the most important and event driven architecture, which is known as a EDA, event driven. Container architecture pattern, I mean, it's not architecture, it's a deployment strategy that you might deploy your application on the virtual VM, on the Lambda serverless architecture, or you can use a Kubernetes container, Kubernetes cluster. Inside that you have a nodes and the containers, deployment APIs and all you are using, or you can just use ECS, Elastic Container Service. You bundle your Node.js app inside a ECR registry, I mean inside a Docker container, and you push it. Serverless architecture, I mean, this is specifically to AWS heavy. What we are doing, AWS or the cloud heavy, because what do we have? We have web app, mobile app, they will go to the API gateway. And now after the API gateway, the Lambda, the serverless, means the functions will take care of executing that. Payment function, auth function, notification function, they can talk to their respective Dynamo service, DynamoDB, RDS, Aurora DB, and S3 events. Like let's say the file is uploaded, SNS topic, some event has been posted. Because in serverless, you can take the advantage of the triggers. The SNS topic, some event has been pushed to the SNS, I can attach a Lambda. Some file has been uploaded to the S3, I can attach a trigger. So the Lambda will be invoked based on that. DynamoDB stream, whenever there is a DynamoDB, we push the data. Dynamo stream, we can subscribe and we can execute the Lambda functions. So it's a serverless without server. Without server, these are just the functions which gets invoked through the API gateway, through the S3, SNS, SQS, or all these asynchronous triggers. Now we have other architecture patterns also: hexagonal, layered, domain driven designs, and clean architecture pattern, where you actually isolate each and everything clearly. Okay, so UI and a controller that will access the adapters, like okay, it's like MVC, MVVC pattern, where you actually have controllers and they will have application layer, send notifications. There is a domain layer. So these are hexagonal, domain driven design, and the clean architecture, the layered architecture pattern. They are in the different segment. This is how you should design your architecture, that you have a UI layer, business layer, data layer, and asynchronous processing layer. This is based on that you design the architecture.